All right, now we are continuing in what the Rebbe spoke about. We're learning what's called Dvar Malchut. These were speeches given by the Rebbe in the last the 2 years, and now it's even the last months of his speaking, right? When before he had a stroke and he was rendered unable to speak. So here we have a speech about the Rebbe, about this week's Torah portion, and it talks about God going together with Moses to see Paro. Boel Paro, God said, come with me to Paro. Paro has two different meanings. Simple meaning, Paro was a bad guy. Paro was an evil person. He was the head of the whole world, and he was the king of decadence. It says that the Egypt was the most decadent, perverted country in the world at the time. At the time, and it says interesting. It says that Egypt and Canaan, the people in Canaan, which of course eventually became the land of Israel, that was the most decadent and perverted and what do we call it, debauched and etc. Places in the world. And Paro was the king. He was the king of all of them. and they were the kings. They were the top. And the Jews, that they are the sons of God. Every Jew is the son of God. And where do we know that the Jew is the son of God? From this whole story. God told Moses, go into Paro and say, my son, my chosen one's Israel. So every Jew is the chosen one of God, and they were the slaves. They were the lowest. In this world, the Jewish people were the lowest sort of, what do I say, race or group that could possibly be. They were slaves. The word Jew was synonymous with slave, right? Tell the Jew to come in, Jew should clean up, tell the Jew. And that was a Jew. That was the Jews for 4 generations. A Jew was a slave, his father was a slave, his grandfather was a slave, and his great-grandfather was a slave. 1, 2, he was a slave, and his father and his grandfather, his great-grandfather, they were all slaves. 4 generations of slaves. That was Jewish identity, was we are slaves. All of a sudden comes along Moses, and he takes them out. How? By going into Paro. He went into Paro. Paro was the highest of the high in the world, right? The Egyptians were ruling the world, and Paro was ruling the Egyptians. So he was the highest of the high of bad guys. He was the source of bad guys in the world. Right? The source of bad was Paro. Everything you can think of bad, that was Paro. Right? That was Paro. And he was ruling the world. Something like what these protesters would like the Hamas. Hamas should rule the world. Right? They're the best guys in the world. That's the Hamas. I guess they must be direct relatives of Paro or something. But they were tremendously powerful. Paro was the ultimate power. He ruled the whole world. This says he was a melech b'kippah. That's what it says he was there. And so God tells Moses, okay, let's go into Paro and talk to Paro. So Moses was afraid, understandably afraid. He wasn't afraid of Paro himself. It says that Paro was like 3 feet high and 3 feet wide or something. He was a weird looking guy. Personally wasn't, and even from the physical Paro, but from the spiritual aspect of Paro, that there could be such evil ruling in the world. Obviously, this man had some sort of a spiritual thing going for him. Something going for him. And like we said before, to the degree that the first of the 10 commandments is, I am God that took you out of Egypt. That was a big accomplishment for God, to take the Jews out of Egypt. God creates Egypt all the time, but he creates it in a way that in order to defeat this evil, the only way to do it is by self-sacrifice. That's how God made the world, self-sacrifice. So God says to Moses, okay, Moses, let's go in to Paro. Moses doesn't want to. He's afraid. He said, okay, I'll do whatever you want to, but I'm afraid. I can't get rid of that. Fear. No matter what I do, I try to, trust in you, God. But, Paro is really scary. I've never been in confronted such essential evil before in my life. So God said, I'll go with you. That's one explanation. But the Zohar explains that because everything in the world has its source in good and holiness, so there's also Paro, the side of holiness of Paro, and that is a level from which all God's lights come. Okay, how can we reconcile these two together? This is very dangerous ground we're talking about over here. Because if we say that Paro, the evil Paro, that he also represents the highest of levels of godliness, so where exactly Do you draw the line? Who is this Paro? Is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? So obviously the answer is that everything comes from God. So everything is good. Everything is good in its source. In its source. And a lot of things are what the good of them is that you have to avoid them. You have to change them. Sometimes you even have to destroy them. That's the good of them. That's what the good is, that you can fulfill with them a negative commandment. That's the good. Okay, but it says in the Zohar that this idea of paro, we're dealing over here, this is like the essence of creation, the essence of bad and the essence of good. And Moses was afraid of both of them. So the Rebbe says, okay, I can understand why Moses was afraid of the bad, but what was he afraid of the good? What was he afraid of good? And he said, because it was so powerful. It's and Moses was just a creation, he was just a person. Okay, and therefore it was necessary to the special commandment for God to say to Moses, Boel Paro, come with me to Paro. Boel Paro, come with me to Paro. A special commandment. Ayali, Kodesh Baruch God took him up, Idrin Bater Idrin, rooms after rooms, chambers after chambers in holiness. Atzmuto Yisrael, God's essence, Shalomaila, which is above all any levels. Machnisin at Moshe, they took Moshe into Paro, which Paro is because to show, and Paro is this level of godliness which from which comes all being. Shagam biyoto neshama, that Moses, even being a soul in a body, the guf mugbal, before in a limited physical body, Yochel Moses was able to receive the revelation of his Priu Kol Nahorim, from where there was all lights revealed. Now, this is before the Torah was given, but later on, Moses would go up with God in Mount Sinai, but this is the preparation for it. But it was not just a preparation for Moses to go up into Mount Sinai to hear the Torah. It was a preparation of also for Moses to bring the Torah down into this world, me'atzmuto, to God's essence. So that's what it means why Moses was afraid to go into this high level. He was afraid that it would just dissolve him. It's like putting whatever is a 20-watt bulb into a 1-billion-watt powerhouse. He was afraid. So therefore he was afraid it would just dissolve him. He wouldn't be. So God said, okay, I'll go with you. I'll go with you and I'll be with you all the time in order to draw this godliness into everything in the world. That's what's going to be in the days of the Moshiach. The whole world will be like the Holy of Holies. We'll see and we'll feel how everything is without being the world being dissolved, without the world being without the world being, how do you say, eliminated by the brightness of true reality. Like usually, in the face of lies, in the face of truth, lies go away. Lies go away. A person comes, for instance, now they have in the Hag or the place. So this guy stands up from South Africa and he says, lies, all these lies, one after the other, and everybody's clapping for him and they're applauding. And Israel is killing millions of people and they're beheading babies and they're eating the children and they're doing all these terrible things. And there's all lies. Everything he says is lies. If someone would stand up and say just the truth, is that would dissolve all the lies, right? What you're saying is a big lie. And the fact of the matter is that God gave the land of Israel to us. And God is creating you. And that's the end of my argument. That's the truth, right? That's the truth. If someone would just say the truth, the truth would just dissolve all of the lies. If it would be accepted. But the fact is the truth dissolves all the lies. As soon as it would be revealed, this whole world is called the world of lies, right? So if the truth is revealed in this world, so it's not that the world goes away, but the lies of the world go away. That the world tempts a person to be self-destructive, to destroy other people, etc. To lie, to cheat, to be depressed, to be this. All these things are lies. When the truth is revealed, so all the lies go away. The problem is the truth is powerful. It's infinitely powerful. So that Moses fell on his face because he saw the truth. So now let's explain this. God took Moses to the source of all being. Paro, from the language of this that from him was revealed all of these lights. can be explained in two ways. Of the revelation of all these lights, these high lights, in a way that's unlimited. This indicates on the revelation from God's essence, which is above any sort of limitation whatsoever. This is a level of light which is in a way of esprit, total unlimited revelation of reality, godliness, the source of all. And this is the source which is revealed, kol nehorim. All of the lights come from God. Dargat v'tzir ha'or gufa iba ofen de esprit. It reveals lights, but the lights that it reveals in the world are also unlimited. In other words, not just in its source is it unlimited, but the way that it's revealed is also unlimited. This is godliness revealed. This is revelation which is unlimited. Even the way that it's revealed in this world is a way that's above any sort of limitation. Okay, this doesn't make any sense. The world, by definition, has to be limited. And how can you reveal something unlimited in the limited world? I mean, one of them has to go away. Either the unlimited light of God has to become limited to be in the world, or if it is revealed in the world, then the world stops being unlimited. It just dissolves all the, like turning on the lights in the movie theater, right? The picture that's on the screen is only there because it's dimmed down light. It's made of only light. You reveal too much light, all the pictures go away. Maybe it's the same thing here, right? You reveal too much light in the world, no more world. It says, no, that's not the way it is. That from the essence of God, the idea was to reveal unlimited light in the physical world. How can it possibly be? Chibur hapachim, that's the joining of two opposites. This is something like what I told you about in the previous, a couple of hours ago, that in the Holy of Holies was the Ark, and the Ark was there, but it wasn't there. Right? It was there, it was 2.5 amas wide, but when they measured it, it took up no space. How could it possibly be? It doesn't make any sense. That's right, it didn't make any sense. That's the uniting of two opposites. This comes from the essence of God. That's why the Ark, this was demonstrated in the Ark. The Ark was the Torah, which comes from God's essence. It's known that the light of God, before it's revealed, is included in God's essence. But over there, when the light of God is in its essence, it's not called light. There, light, for instance, a beam of sunlight, when it's in the sun, it's not called a beam. There, it's found, it's just in the potential to be revealed, which is called kadman kikad muso yisbrich. This is previous, the primordial of the primordial. Shenose hakol v'kol yachol. This is God before He created the world. Everything is possible. Excuse me. As Peril Mine, there came from Him all these lights. And therefore, or even when the light was drawn down in a revealed way, but or in the way of light, shekashur, that is attached in some way, of some sort of a world, a limit, a defined world. Nimshach, it's come down from Atzmos Shleimus Agilui, the Kol Nehorim. If this unlimited light can be revealed, simultaneously being unlimited, but in a limited way, that was the Holy Temple. And then, if so, this is a new type of completion in the world, a new type of wholesomeness. And even more, Shemedida v'Hagbala, that the limiting all of these lights, infinite lights of God, is in a way of esprit. It's limiting them in an unlimited way. L'mayla miyadida v'Hagbala. How can this possibly be these two opposites? From this, Mishtal Shalamata comes below a koach, the ability to unite the opposites of unlimited and limited in the light itself. And even below, joining the lights and the vessels. In other words, feeling that in this world, that God is right in this world creating everything. That this world is an infinite place. In language of usual English, it's called a miracle. A miracle. Everything in the world is a miracle. Until the chibur and neshama b'guf, until the joining of the soul and the body. Here's an example that all of the soul and the body is limited, which should be able to receive this light, which is unlimited. Right? How does the soul come into the body? Amazingly, the soul fits the body. My soul is not his soul. The aspect of my soul that enlivens my arm is not the same thing that enlivens my eye. The power of sight, the power, it's different. It's limited. What if it was unlimited? Unlimited life in my body. Ooh, that would not be so good. What do you mean that my foot would see and my eye would run? What is it? My nose, the running nose we have, is that my eye would run. How could it possibly be? What would it be? Doesn't make any sense. Says that's exactly right. It wouldn't make any sense. But God wants to reveal the creator in the creation, a whole new world. In English, it's also called happiness, going out of yourself. Suddenly you're happy. I don't believe it. It's happy. No words. As Perio will call in Orim, from God's essence, and even more, Sheneshama Baguf, that the soul in the body, Tochel Lekanes L'Sham, that the soul in the body will be able to not only to receive these lights, but also to be able to go into these lights. Pao Paro. A Jew, when he will do Torah and the commandments, he'll feel he's uniting himself with a higher aspect of the infinite. Just like Moses went into what says chambers within chambers in the inside of God. Biratam, so that's the reason why God had to do this new thing and tell Moses, come with me to Paro. Moshe, that Moses, as a soul in a body, would be able to receive these tremendously high lights. We can understand by understanding, we understand this, why God had to even do this. Why did he have to say, Moses, come with me into Paro? Why did God have to do that? All these other religions in the world, right? Not to keep bringing this up, but I mean, they're tremendously popular and they're spiritual and they give people a fulfillment and they give us, is based on one guy that comes and he says, I had a revelation, and everyone says, okay, we believe it. Right? Here, Moses is not good enough. Moses itself, God had, it explains in the Torah exactly what was the revelation. God had to come and say, I'm bringing you this prior revelation so that you'll give it to all of the Jewish people and the Jewish people will give it to the whole world. Namely, God himself, that all of this people will have the same revelation as you have, Moses. This will be understood. I understand the whole idea of why did the Jews have to go out of Egypt at all? What does it mean, Geula from Egypt? This thing God told Moses, this is a preparation and like an opening for going out of Egypt. Hakavana, I mean, you should know that there's no other, again, religion that even has a vague story. All of the people in the religion, right? All of the what is it, the Hindus or something, they were all prisoners in China. And all of them, one day, miraculously, there came someone and miraculously this person said, okay, we're leaving China, and that is the foundation of the Hindu religion. There's no such thing like that, right? All the Muslims, all the Christians, all the Buddhists, all this, we used to be slaves. All of us, we were slaves in Iceland, and miraculously came our great leader, and he took us all out of. Nobody made up such a story. And there's even religions that claim that they're replacing Judaism. They're replacing Judaism was true, and now they don't even make up such a story, right? You figure at least they make up a story that's better than ours. Nobody even makes up such a story. Who needs such a story? You don't need it. And they're successful, and the Jewish people are just dragging along, schlepping along. Why did they have to be this whole thing of going out of Egypt at all? Why? The whole idea of going out of Egypt is getting the Torah. Like God said to Moses immediately, he said, when you take the Jewish people out of Egypt, Tavdun, you will serve me on this mountain. That was at the burning bush. The burning bush was on Mount Sinai. Hachirish the Matan Torah, the novelty of the giving of the Torah is, Natinat the Torah, when God gave the Torah and the commandments below to the Jewish people, souls and bodies. Physical, human, normal people received the essence of God. In order, that they will be able to fulfill the whole purpose of the creation of the world. Why did God put the Jews in Egypt and give them the Torah? So that they would be able to use the Torah. We're talking about we would be able to use the Torah right now to do what God created the world for. Nit'ava Kodesh Baruch Hu, God desired liot lo yitborech, a dwelling in the physical world. That's what God wants. That in the limited world, the hell of Esther and the concealment of the soul and the body in this world, Yegili Atzmos will be the revelation of God's essence. That's what we learned in the Bati Lagani Maimon. We're going to learn it again in a couple minutes. In a couple minutes, that every Jew is a holy temple. And that's what God wants, that pure godliness should be revealed in this physical world. The Creator should be revealed. You'd feel that every detail, every rock is a miracle. Kamo Adam, just like a person, that's found, just like a person, when he comes home, then he's himself. How much more so when we're talking about God? God is the creator of the world. When God is found in the world, then he feels at home. Like it was it will be in the future redemption, the total redemption. Something like this was at the giving of the Torah. Like it says, it says that your God will not hide himself from you anymore. Because God will be in his dwelling. God will be revealed without any garments. That's what it means. God wants a dwelling. Where is God's dwelling? In this physical world. That's where he wants to be. That's where he was in the beginning. Bati Lagani says, I have come back to my place where I really wanted to be all the time. Sometimes a person goes in his house, without any garments. Right? Person is in his house. Sometimes he takes a shower. Okay, you do it like it's known. Kodem Matan Torah, before God gave the Torah, there was a decree that the upper worlds were spiritual and they didn't come down to the physical worlds. Elyonim lo yirdu lamata, v'tachtonim lo olu lamayla. A person wanted to have any connection to the spiritual worlds, as he had to completely absolve any connection with this physical world. And the giving of the Torah, all of a sudden it changed. A person could be a normal, regular, non-spiritual person and connect to the essence of God by means of the commandments. Natinat Koach was given by, when God gave the Torah, he gave the power to draw down into this physical world the revelation of the upper worlds, until Shedargot Hachinalot, the highest levels of godliness, to the essence of God, so that in order that the physical body in this physical world will be able to be holy. That's the idea of the holy temple. The Jews have this building that's a holy. What type of a religion is that? Religion is supposed to be a spiritual thing. You get it refined. You know, the Jewish people, they have this house. We're praying God should rebuild this house again. That's real godliness. What's that God? What's one got to do with the other? A house and godliness. What are you talking about? Godliness is leaving the world. And we're talking about building in the world. That's the essence of holiness, because God wants to be in this world. Ad ladira, you know that the world becomes a dwelling for the essence of God. The whole entire world will reveal that God and the world are totally one. From this is now it's understood Mitzrayim, when the Jews were in exile and going out of exile, this is a preparation for the revelation of the essence of God at Mount Sinai. And this is also stressed by what? By this, what we're talking about now, that God negated this decree about spiritual not being able to be physical and physical not being able to be spiritual. Ma'ver matzav shel pirud bein elamot, that the upper worlds were separate from the lower worlds. So God had to do something to join them together, a sign. And that was this thing of Boel Paro. That was the thing of telling Moses, come to Paro. Come to Paro means that God was telling Moses, up to now the spiritual was spiritual and the physical was physical. I'm going to make you essence. The creator of the physical, the creator of the spiritual. You're going to go up to the source of all. And Moses says, I'm afraid. I never saw such a thing like this. I never did. So God said, I'll come with you. I'll come with you to Paro. Similarly, we can find this in the beginning of the mission of Moses to take the Jews out of Egypt. But Bir Taina, when the explanation of the complaint of Moses to God, Lo ish dabrim anochi, kavod peh v'kavod lashon anochi. God said, Moses, good news at the burning bush, right? God says, good news, Moses, you're going to take the Jews out of Egypt. And Moses said, listen, I see the Jews are suffering. I really want them to leave Egypt. But, you're picking the wrong man, God. I mean, if you really want to succeed in this job, I'm telling you, send somebody else because you're going to send me and it's not going to work. It's going to be a big disappointment for everybody. So let's just, skip the trials. And I don't want, I can't even talk. Moses was saying to God, look, and therefore, shalach b'yad mishalach. Moses said to God, send somebody else. Send someone else. It said that in exile of Egypt, Moses was in exile. The speech of Moses was in exile. Therefore, Moses said that by means of him, he couldn't reveal anything in the world. Moses was to himself, he kept to himself. The source of this was because Moses was so high. Remember, we learned the mimer about that in Likkutei Torah, that Moses was such a tremendously high level that he couldn't bring his thoughts, his soul into speech. Lamaili was even above Megillah Torah Shebechtav. He was above even the written Torah and the oral Torah. He was covered peh. It says in the oral Torah, in the written Torah. Covered peh that he was. It says Moses was of hard mouth and of hard tongue. It says the hard of speaking in his mouth. That's talking about the oral Torah, and covered lashon. That's talking about the written Torah. Moses was above that. He couldn't come down to bring the Torah. Moses was covered peh because the source of Moses was from Tohu. Remember, we learned that mimer in Torah Or. Moses came from what's called the world of Tohu, that over there the lights were so great and the vessels were so weak that it couldn't speak. He wasn't able to bring this light into the world. Therefore, he said, Shalach, but he said, send someone else. Send the Moshiach. That's what Moses said. Send the Moshiach. Moshiach, he'll come from the world of Tikkun. He'll be able to do it. And God said to Moses, what are you saying? You can't speak. You're too high. Mi sam pelo adam. Where'd you get your mouth from? From me. Halo anochi. I gave people their mouths. Anochi hayem picha. I'll be with your mouth. I'll tell you what to say. Mitzad atzmusa, from God's essence, which God has the ability to do anything. God is the source and the vessel for the vessel of the mouth, namely the vessel of the mouth. That's what's called the world of tikkun, that things can be put into the world in an orderly way. I'm from the world. I was the one that created the world of tikkun and the world of tohu, which was tremendously high lights. God said, don't worry, I can join these two things together. Shagam also, even in the time of exile in Egypt, and even by Moses, that on his own he couldn't be revealed in the world, nevertheless will be the revelation of Moses and Moses' mouth, because God said, I will be with your mouth. What does it mean? Even Moshe, Sheshorsha, that you, Moses, are so high, you're higher than the Torah. You're from the world of Tohu, and you haven't got any vessels to bring it into the world. But Anochi, the essence of God, that I made all these worlds of highlights of Tohu and vessels of Tikkun. I can transform everything. I can fix the whole thing around. So the Tohu and Tikkun will be together. These two opposites will be together. There'll be tremendously high lights, like Tohu will also be in the physical world of Tikkun. Ella, but now in Egypt, Anochi, that I am with you with your mouth, the revelation was a miracle. And the time when Moses spoke to Paro, will have proper words. That was a big miracle. In addition to that, God also said, therefore he said, and Aaron, he'll do the speaking for you. You'll speak to Aaron. In other words, Moses will speak to Aaron, and I'll put those words of your words into his mouth, who he will be for you for a mouth. Why? I thought that God fixed up Moses' mouth in order that the word should be revealed completely, not just in a miraculous way, like it would be if Moses would speak, but in a natural way. Avot says, "Hu lo mitrapeh." Moses didn't get healed then. The fact that Moses could speak, that was a miracle. When did Moses get healed? Mainly at Mount Sinai, but we'll see. It said all the Jews got healed at Mount Sinai. But therefore, afterwards, Moses said, Ani also Moses said, I am hard speaking, I can't speak. This was, when was Moses healed? By Anochi, when God said the first word of the Ten Commandments, Anochi, at Mount Sinai, in the beginning of the Ten Commandments. Therefore, Moses had the power to take the Jews out of Egypt, even though that he didn't, because God was with him. God was with Moses in a miraculous way. When did God start being with Moses in a miraculous way? And this is when God spoke to Moses and said, I'm going to take you into Paro. That God united then the physical with the spiritual, the limited with unlimited, only in order that it should be a revelation of the God of speech totally in the whole world. It had to break the klippa, the evil of Egypt, by means of I will be with your mouth. This brought about afterwards the revelation of Mount Sinai, Anochi. The same Anochi was revealed to all the Jewish people, and that healed Moses completely. So we see that God speaking to Moses and saying, come with me to Paro, this was a step, like the second step in God revealing the Torah below. The first step was at the burning bush. God said to Moses, I'll be with you to speak to Paro. Moses said, I can't do it. He says, don't worry, Anochi, I'll be with you. I'll join the lights of tikkun, your ability to speak with your speaking. But it'll be a miracle. In order so it'll be, you're being able to speak in a natural way, you can't do it yet. That's only going to be Mount Sinai. I'll send Aaron with you to Paro. But afterwards, when God spoke again at Mount Sinai, right? So that was step number two. Step number one was at the burning bush. Step number two was when God spoke to Moses, Boel Paro over here. And the third step was when God said, Anochi at Mount Sinai, then everybody got healed. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Bati Lagani. Mm-hmm.